All right, Coach will give a recap of last week, give a preview this week, and then we'll open the questions.
Yeah, as I said, appreciate you being here, documenting this journey. A lot of long faces, a lot of high expectations unrealized this last Saturday, and we're not up to the task to win that football game. I'll start with some credit to Cal Poly, who I thought played incredibly hard. I thought they played their best game on the season, and they look like a young team that is improving. They're rugged in the front seven, as we knew going in. They kept the ball in front of them. In the secondary, we weren't able to get much of a passing game going, or at least a deep threat passing game. And I thought they had they changed up quite a bit of their offensive blocking schemes, to account for what we do on defense. I think they had the time, the intelligence, and the ability to do that. And I thought they took an advantage that we needed to adjust to on defense and didn't get that done. Ended up giving up too many points, too many yards, too many big plays. Just kind of overarching struggle that we're having right now is our quarterback situation, and it's a whole situation. It starts with losing our top two guys on the depth chart for unspecified period of time. Not unspecified as in I'm trying to keep it a secret. Unspecified as in I don't know. The injuries that they have are non-surgical, but they're not. There's not a concrete time frame on these things. We have we really in the games where we haven't had Peter and Hank, we leaned into Jonah Chong and gave him a real opportunity that came up short. It's about quarterback performance, not. I use the word performance because I think there's implied in that. I think there's coaching. I think there's preparation. I think there's the time to develop and execute. And I think that we have good enough quarterbacks still on the roster to win football games. I think where we've come up short is in our ability to prepare them in a short period of time, and maybe our ability to select the right one. I'm excited this week. I'm not trying to hide it. We thought that Caden Box would give us our best chance to be vertical down the field, to create some big plays in the passing game. And we really leaned into him and elevated him over Kiai. And in the game, it wasn't working out. We didn't prepare him in that short amount of time. He's going to be a great player in the future, and I need that future to be this week because we're still going to use Caden Box. But we also have never given, to this point in the season, as much as you've seen Keone play, we never have leaned into him. We never have built a game plan around him. We've never tried to really complete a game plan around him. And so we're out there with trying to run a half dozen plays over and over and over against Cal Poly and dress them up in different ways. And that's not a way to beat a team that's got a 2-3 score lead on you. So that's the situation we have to address. Our defense is trying to play shutout defense. When we have a team backed up, we're trying to make sure that they don't get out of bad field position. We're trying to get them to punt deep in their own territory so we can get a pressure, a return, set up our offense for a score. That was the one score we had in the game. When a team gets out to midfield, we're getting as aggressive as we can to not let them into field goal range because we feel like a field goal can be the difference in the game. And so our defense right now is being uncharacteristically aggressive, too aggressive, and not getting that shutout defense that we would need. I think we can play more. I think we can play more within our system of defense and still play aggressive defense, but not try to completely win the game on one side of the ball. We got to come together as a team, and to do that, we got to be more dynamic on offense. Got a great team this week. I don't need to tell anybody that it's 0-5 against 5-0. It's the top of the conference consistently against the bottom of the conference consistently. We have an amazing venue. An amazing team. They're big, strong, physical. I think they're the biggest, most physical team in the conference. I feel like that's usually an area that we've really narrowed the gap over the time that I've been here. We've gotten bigger, we've gotten more physical, and then this is, I think, the stiffest test in the conference in terms of just size, physicality, buy-in into the weight room, into target body weights. You can tell that there's a philosophy there to be big and strong and to play big and strong football. They represent everything we would like to become, and so the highest respect for you know, Coach Vegan, the Montana State program in general, the atmosphere that we're going into. I think in all those ways, it's. I hope our players see it like I believe they will. It's an amazing opportunity. We're not scared. Maybe we should be, but yeah, I hope from what I see from our players, they're here to work this week. It's early in the week, and I'm anxious to see how they prepare. Any questions?
Coach, what's the vibe like with the guys right now at this point? You mentioned some long faces at the end of that Cal Poly game.
Sure.
How's that?
Yeah. So one thing I just finished talking to players about. Almost daily I will try to squeeze a lunch in somewhere on campus, and I like to walk. Sometimes even walk the long way and walk through campus, walk through a building. I like to see our players out on campus. I like to see how they're dressed, see how they're interacting. And usually it's, you know, to make sure that they're representing well and just to bump into them. I like to bump into them in a non-football setting so they know that I'm a human being and I exist outside the football building and that I care about what they do outside the football lines. But I noticed a lot of guys today wearing their UNC Bears gear, and so it tells me that there's still a pride in being a UNC Bears football player. They poured so much into it. I think that two things can simultaneously be true. I think we can be embarrassed about our performance. I think we can be embarrassed about our overall record. I think we can be embarrassed about a losing streak that predates when some of these guys ever even arrived on campus. And I think they can be incredibly proud of where they're going. And I think a big part of that is the youth and the Colorado group that we've recruited. There's a regional cohesiveness. There's a belief in the future. There's an excellent talent level. And yet even some of our, what we have started to call around here the old guard, the guys that have been through 3 different head coaches, the guys who have been consistently losing. We call them the old guard because we understand they're more loyal to each other than they are to us as coaches, and that's understandable and maybe even expected. And those guys are still in it too. Those guys are still proud to be Bears, and you know, not every story, at least here at UNC as a football story, this story doesn't start and end well. It just ends well, and I think they still believe that.
Saturday after the game, you mentioned something along the lines of you need to find how to have fun playing football again. I guess a few days removed, is that still kind of how you're seeing things? And if so, what do you do practice-wise to kind of do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it can be a lot of different things. One of the players came to me this week and said, "Hey, Coach, what about doing a Scout Team Player of the Week?" And then he started to explain what Scout Team Player of the Week is, right? And like, you know, I've been coaching for 25 years and playing for a time before that. So no, I know what Players of the Week are. For me, that's always been on a victory, and it's a really crappy feeling not to recognize guys, both offense, defense, and then you got the young guys working their butt off on the scout teams. You got the special teams. There's so many recognitions that we keep because of my habits. We keep putting those off and saying, well, we don't want to celebrate those individual efforts until they result in a win. And so maybe rethinking where we're at. Maybe it was appropriate other places I've been or other programs in their situation at that time. Maybe it was appropriate to withhold some of those recognitions until we're winning games. Maybe it's not appropriate here. So I think that's one way. I think we can do more crossover. I think we can do a little less scout work. I think we can allow our guys to enjoy the competition during the week and feel the wins and losses they cut a little more deeply. Sometimes when the scout team makes a play, it's like, you know, it's a lot of times it's not full speed on either side of the ball, and guys kind of excuse that away as you know, a quirk of the moment, and it tends to be a lot more competitive, and it's both there's more elation and more disappointment when things work out or don't work out. So we're going to do some more basically scrimmaging during practice. Those are a couple of ways.
Coach, you talked about Caden Box a little bit too, quarterback maybe of the future.
Yeah.
Will we still plan to see him a little bit this weekend?
Oh yeah, Caden's going to take a lot of reps. And to be fair, I feel like that both with Jonah and Caden, that, you know, we elevated those guys at time for their potential. And when I say elevated, I mean like at Stephen F. Austin when Hank went down, Kiai was the number 2. And he got all the 2's reps. And Caden wasn't getting, there's not room in practice for a third quarterback to get a lot of team reps. doesn't work out for the timing of the overall team. It doesn't work out for the number of hours that the NCAA limits us to. And so, we saw an ability in Caden's arm talent and elevated him up and tried to make that work in a week. And it didn't work. And there's a lot of reasons that it didn't work, and it's certainly not all on Caden. But, it was clear from early in the first quarter that it wasn't working. And it's not that we gave up at that moment. You saw him come in later in the game, and we still believe in his ability to do it next time. And we all own a share of him not performing up to his own expectations and leading us to a win. And that goes with the planning, the programming, the tactical, the technical, the offensive line blocking for him, the receivers getting open. There's all kinds of reasons why that didn't work out. But my point is, we never gave Kiai that opportunity. We never built a plan around him. We are not a playbook of the week team. We can't do that for Caden. We can't do that for Kiai. But in terms of taking all the repetitions and tilting the playbook or the game book, the game plan toward a quarterback, this will be the first time that we've done that for Kiai. And so just as I was excited for Caden last week to take the primary number of reps, I'm excited for Kiai this week. And also, Jonah Chong is still very much in the mix. I think we'll find out more today about who that second quarterback is.
Coach, you basically, I think, just answered what my question was going to be, but with Kiai opening up the playbook and doing Caden, it's kind of like a two-quarterback system. How do you avoid making it be a little bit predictable? Obviously, with Kiai, he was mostly running, coming out, not throwing a whole lot. And with Caden, he's a little less mobile, it seems like. So how do you keep him guessing, I guess, whenever you bring one guy in, bring one guy out? It seems like maybe it'd be decided.
Sure, yeah. I think what you're alluding to is Kiai comes in and it's time to run the ball, and Caden comes in when it's time to pass. And that's the situation we found ourselves in last game because we were trying to get a quarterback ready in a week, and weren't a lot of total repetitions for Kiai to have a complete game plan. And so that's exactly what you saw, and that's what I'm alluding to now is the ability to put together a complete game plan for Kiai. He doesn't not have the ability to get the ball down the field in the vertical passing game. It's just, with a lot of what we were expecting him to do in that game as a change of pace, we more want to stretch the field horizontally. We want to use him as an additional threat in the run game. All those things will still exist, but now obviously we've got to find a way to be more explosive in the pass game. And by the way, just going back to Cal Poly, we did not run the ball effectively enough to win either. I credit Cal Poly for that, but also what you're seeing, sitting up wherever you were sitting, Cal Poly can see that as well. They could see that we were in a box when Kiai came in and had a fairly small number of options in our pass game.
Coach, with these extreme situations and just the elements that we're dealing with all together, what is the light at the end of the tunnel of trying to get these guys to still rally, come together, and be a competitive unit on the field for you? Sure.
Well, as much as possible, I try to bring my mindset. Anyone that wants to criticize, my record, my performance, any of that, I'm good. I've had success in my career. There are people that think I'm a good football coach. I also think I'm a good football coach. It kind of all just bounces off me at this point. I didn't take this job for my record. I didn't take this job thinking that we were going to be our best in year one or year two. I didn't take this job and clean house. I didn't shop the portal. I specifically interviewed that I was going to build this the slow way and the way that I believed in, not the right or wrong way, but I was going to build it with high school freshmen. I was going to build it in the weight room. I was going to do it with culture. And my expectation was that I would be able to affect the team immediately and win immediately in year one, and that didn't happen. And my expectation is to do it in year two, and that didn't happen. But I believe that our players are bought into the idea that they're trying to turn an overall program here, not a game. And every game is important, and we live and die with them, but we're trying to turn an overall program, And the timing of when that happens is not as critical as making it happen and being a part of it. And so I think our seniors want to be a part of it in the worst way. They see it coming. They see the talent that is the youth on the program. They see the buy-in. I think our juniors want to be a part of it and feel like they have a little more time, you know, and I think our freshmen and sophomores are completely bought in about the future, and they think, hey, regardless of what happens, say when we get our turn, we're going to be the bullies in this conference. And so I don't see the sentiment that I know is out there. I don't see that. I've got my blinders on. I'm with these boys here, and there is no doubt about my conviction. I don't worry about my job. I don't worry about what people are saying on the social media platforms. I know there's criticisms out there. In my mind, the more the better. I really hope that that those of our players that would hear those, or maybe parents or whatever that are hearing those and giving those validity, I really hope they opt into the portal and move out of the way, because I think we've got plenty that absolutely 100% believe in Colorado as a recruiting hotbed. They believe in Northern Colorado as the place that's going to show that. We've been cleaning up in our recruiting in this state, and I believe that there's a high level of conviction still in the program.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
I have one from Ann who couldn't make it, so I apologize if I misinterpreted this, but stronger, tougher, better conditioned has kind of been the mantra. And I assume the end goal of that and like the end product will reduce injuries, but do you think in growing towards that and closing the gap, do you think that may leave you more susceptible to some of these injuries we're seeing? Or do you think it's mostly luck, as there's an element of that with just about every injury?
It's a really good question. The motto is smarter, tougher, better conditioned. And some of our own players and coaches sometimes make that same mistake. I think for some reason stronger, tougher, better conditioned just sounds like three things that work together.
For sure.
But it's actually smarter and tougher and better conditioned, and we have ways that we talk about achieving each of those three targets: smarter, tougher, better conditioned. But to the crux of your question, I think injuries while there is certainly an element of luck, I think the way we strength train and the number of young players that we have playing in the program, as opposed to you look at some of the other teams that right now in the top of our conference who are playing with more redshirt juniors and seniors. Last year, for example, some of you guys might not realize we only had 4 seniors on senior day. We had 4 seniors recognized. South Dakota State had 34 seniors. So guys become more injury resistant as they're older, more mature, stronger, more developed in the program. We're playing a lot of young players. We also we play a physical style of football on offense and defense, an aggressive style. I think all of those things are, for me as the head coach, things to continue to evaluate. The way that we lift, the number of young players that we're playing, the number of snaps that those players are playing. I would not shirk the responsibility to say that some of the injuries over time are going to be somewhat related to the way that we do things. And I don't know that there's ever a way to point to a specific injury and say that's Ed Lamb's fault because we lifted our elbows on Friday. We bench pressed on a Friday. I don't know how to do that, but I do know that overall the injury numbers, a good head football coach with a good plan can decrease the number of injuries on the team.
Any more questions?
Real quick, Coach, you've touched on everything, which you usually are pretty good about. But we were talking about baseball earlier, and I'm a Cardinals kid, but I still go to Rockies games. And I go to every game because I'm like, they can win every game. Yeah. And not to be cliche or anything, but you said 5-0, 0-5, they're who you want to be, who you are. Obviously, you go play the game because there's always a chance. So it's a tough chance, but kind of maybe wrap it up, how the guys are feeling, whether it's underdog role or, we're heading up there and gonna, like Hank said, punch them in the mouth, all those things. And I imagine that's still how the guys are feeling.
Yes, I think there's always in sports, there's a top dog role and there's an underdog role. And the cool thing about human beings, I've talked to our players about this, in the animal world, You know, they're both gonna go at it, but the bigger one just always wins. You know, the bigger, more mature animal just always wins, and the other one kind of makes a show of fighting, and then eventually they kind of lay on their side. But that's not what human beings do. We're gonna go up there, we're gonna completely fight until the end and see if we match up on this day. We did not match up in our previous 5 games to what Montana State has done. We don't match up, you know, on paper. If you say paper is the Vegas spread, I don't know what the Vegas spread is, but if there's a spread, it's probably not looking good for us, right? If you're matching overall records, it's probably not looking good for us. If you look at national rankings in the AFCA coaches poll or something like that, it's probably not looking good for us. But the game is not played on paper. Our players realize that, and I know they're excited about the opportunity. I'll find out a lot more when we go out to practice today and see who's really in it and who's having a good time and who's enjoying this moment in preparation for that moment on Saturday.
Any more questions? Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.